Well, hey there, neighbor. It's me, Angie. Look at there. I have the front door open for you. Come on in. Now, it's a little late. I'm making this video. It's 5 o'clock in the evening. But it's been Mother's Day. And we mothers have been celebrating. Well, most of us. Some of us may have had to work. That doesn't make us less of a mom. Some of us may have our children live further away from us than we would like. Doesn't make us less than a mom. But today's our day. Today is the day that we honor mothers. And I want to tell you a story that you may or may not believe, but I almost didn't become a mother. I know it's shocking because now that I look back and think about me never being a mom, oh, what I would have missed. And it wasn't because I could not have children. It was because of my mindset. And I'm so glad that my perception changed. And I tell a little bit of this story in the video where James and I meet and how we met and fell in love and got married and started having children. And I tell this little part of that in that video, which is a Mississippi woman marries a Louisiana man. I think that's the name of the video. It's one of my earlier videos if you want to go back and view it. But I had two conditions when James asked me to marry him. And they were, I do not move to Louisiana and live in Louisiana. I didn't want to raise, if I ever had children, I didn't want to raise children in Louisiana, which kind of contradicts my next statement now that I think about it. But my next statement was, I don't want to have children. And if he could live with those two things, that I didn't want to live in Louisiana and that I didn't want to have children, then yes, I would say yes, I would marry him. So he was fine with us not living in Louisiana. He was fine moving to Mississippi and living here. But I remember him saying, okay, if that's the way you think now, but you'll probably change your mind. So yes, I can deal with those two things, conditions. So I thought, okay. And I was fine. I thought I never wanted to have children because I grew up with a mom that was not very maternal. And when I was younger and even when I had my children, she would have probably never admitted that. But I think now at her age, she probably will admit that she was never maternal. And that's okay. I mean, every female is not maternal, and I accept that now. But when I was younger, I couldn't understand it. So I thought, well, I don't want to have children and be like that. I want to love my children, hug my children, let my children come first. It's not about you after you have children. It's about your children. You take second, you go on the back seat. Your children are what you need to take care of, making sure they get fed. And when I say that, they need emotional support. They need stability. They need to know that you got their back no matter what, right or wrong. So James and I go along. Nothing was said about having children. And until James mentioned it to me, and he said, look, I want to have a child. Have you changed your mind? Do you want to have a child? And at that time, James and I had been married probably almost 3 years. And I was like, I thought about it a few days and I come back to him and I said, okay, I'll have one. Now, if it's a boy, I'm not going to have any more. But if it's a girl, I might have two. I'm not really sure, but I'll have one. And he was really ecstatic. He was like, oh, yes. And it took us a little while to get pregnant with Matt, but I got pregnant and I was like, okay. And I prayed every day, Lord, let this be a baby boy. Let him look just like his daddy. Let him act like his daddy. Let him, every mannerisms, everything. But what I forgot to say was don't let him have the quirky things or the things that get on my nerves. The bad things, which wasn't really bad, but I mean, to me, they were things that just annoying. I forgot to say that. But anyway, I had the best pregnancy in the world. I mean, I felt better being pregnant than I did not being pregnant. And I had Matt in 3.5 hours. So, I mean, I had no problem with pregnancy. And when the doctor delivered him, and we didn't find out what Matt was, we didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl, because I just knew I was having a boy. And I didn't want to be disappointed, but I wouldn't have been now that I look back. But I can remember Matt being born and the doctor saying, "Oh, it's a big old boy." And I just said, "Oh, I won't have to ever do this again." And James in the delivery room looks at me and says, "Oh, you'll change your mind." And I look up at him and I say, "That's not something you just tell a woman that just gave birth to their first child about having another child." And he just laughed. So Matt was born. And he looked just like his daddy. Act, mannerisms, his hands, his feet, everything just like James. And right now, if they have their caps on, from a distance, people mistake James for Matt and Matt for James. That's how much they walk alike, talk alike, mannerisms. Well, Matt got older, and he didn't have any first cousins because my sisters at that time didn't have any children. So he come to me, he said, "Look, Matt doesn't need to be an only child. He doesn't have any first cousins, and I don't want him, if something happened to us, I don't want him to be left here by himself. I want him to have a sibling. Would you be willing to have us have one more child?" And I was like, "Okay, one more. And if it's a boy, then we have 2 boys. If it's a girl, we have a boy and a girl. But after that, no matter what the sex is, we have no more after 2. And it wasn't the fact that the pregnancy was bad or, whatever. It was just, I felt like we could give 2 kids more than what we could give 3 or 4 children. And I was a middle child growing up, and James was a middle child growing up. And there is a such thing as middle child syndrome. But anyway, I got pregnant with Taylor. And we did find out she was a girl the last week before they had to take her because she had complications. And I thought, oh, a boy and a girl, this is great. But then I thought, wait a minute, I know how to raise a boy because I've done it for the last almost 4 years. But I don't know about girls because I was always a tomboy. I never was the girly girl, wanting to dress up in little dresses and bows and all that. I always hung around guys and my first cousins that were guys, and I still do to this day, hang around my first cousins that are male and not female. I've just always been that way. So Taylor is a tomboy too. She always has been. But when she wants to dress up, like going to prom, her wedding, anything special, now she can get decked out. And I mean, I'm the same way. When I worked at the bank and we would have Christmas parties or anything to do, now I could get all dressed up to go to work or go to a Christmas party or anything like that. But most of the time I just wanted to be casual clothes and things like that. But there I had 2 children. And today being Mother's Day, it got me to thinking, wow, what if I would have never chose to have a child because I thought I wasn't going to be maternal. I thought I wasn't going to be the kind of mom that I wished I had had, and I didn't want another child to experience that. Now, I'm not judging my mom by saying that because she is who she is. She can't change it. Now, for a long time, I didn't understand that, but I do understand it now. But I'm so thankful that I'm not like that. That the two greatest gifts that I have received in my life are my son and my daughter. And then there's Berkeley, my granddaughter, that my son and daughter-in-law have given me. I value that so much. My whole heart goes into my family. And after I met my real father, my real dad, my biological father, his family were, no matter what happened in that family, they were like this. And they were family oriented. It was all about the family. And I guess that's where I get it from. But I wanted to be the best mom ever. Now, my style of parenting may not be your style of parenting. James and I made a decision how we were going to parent. We're not saying it was the right way, but it was the right thing, the way what we chose to do. And I'm not judging anybody for being not being maternal or having dysfunction in their home, or I'm just sharing with you about the way James and I, it came about for us to have children and how we are with our children. Because I knew as soon as Matthew Scott Smith was born on December the 30th, my life was put on hold. He was what mattered. He got my undivided attention. I was his mom. I was the one to take care of him, tend to him, make sure he was safe, secure. And I can honestly say, I wanted my children to grow up in a home that one day they could drive by the house and say, I grew up in that house and we never moved. I didn't move. When I moved out of my mom and dad's house, that's when I moved to a new place. That's what I wanted my children to be able to say. And that's what happened. Now, when I was growing up, we moved, we could have been professional movers because we moved so much. And I didn't want that for my children. That was my choice. And like I say, everybody parents different. I went to every sports event, every school activity, everything that every church program, everything that my children were involved in, I was there. And that was just a choice. That's the way I wanted it. Now, everybody, their jobs will not allow them to be, and everybody can't be. But I'm just telling you, this is how I did, and my job allowed me to be able to do that. And I'm not judging anybody for the way they have parented, or if they chose not to have a child, or if they could not have children. I'm just telling you, I do not take it for granted every day that I was blessed with 2 children, to be able to carry those children. And I think to myself, how does a woman carry a baby and not have any connection to that child when they are born? I mean, like today, Taylor came and she wanted me to go to Louisiana with her to put flowers on my mother-in-law's grave, and that's what we did. And just being with her, talking with her, and we mostly talked about my YouTube channel, the people I've met, the cards that I've gotten for my birthday already, the friends and things that have been going on. And she was laughing and talking about it. And we talked about her and what she's going through, because she and her husband are trying to have a baby right now. And we make that trip. We come home. And she says, Mom, I want to show you what I got you for Mother's Day. I said, okay. So she got me this foot massaging thing that I can put my feet in, and it massages my feet, has the water, and it heats up and all this. So she gets a towel out. She gets it all set up. And she says, Mom, I want you to try it out. She got me a candle because she knows I love scented candle. And it wasn't the gifts that was making me so happy. It was the time that I was getting to spend with her, because She'll be 27 years old in June. I couldn't be with my son today, and he calls, of course, and he's like, Mom, I just wanted to call and wish you a happy Mother's Day. You know, I love you, and we're doing fine. He talked to me a few minutes, which that was enough for me because I knew they weren't going to be able to come up for Mother's Day. And we talked about our trip coming later on in the month. You know, James and I celebrating our wedding anniversary, and we're all going to be together. And things like that is what keeps me going. It keeps me wanting to wake up every morning, wanting to see the next day, because I know that I have them. I have James. I have Berkeley. That gives me reasons to get up and fight what I have to deal with on a daily basis. But I'm telling you right now, the proudest days of my life have been parenting and being a mom. I've loved it, every minute of it, through the the good times and the bad. Because, you know, it's not easy raising children, but we tell each other we love each other. I tell my children when they walk out the door, I love you. I tell them when I talk to them on the phone, I love you. You know, they tell me that, and I know it's sincere. And we just didn't do that in my house when I was growing up. I mean, it was like we all lived in the same house, but we really didn't know each other. Now, we cared about each other. I don't want you to think that we didn't care. But it wasn't like I wanted my family to be, if I ever had one. And I don't say this in a bragging way because, like I said, I'm very humbled because I know I've been blessed with these two gifts that God has given me. But I just wanted to come on here and wish every mom a happy Mother's Day. And to say, I know what it feels like to be a mother. You know, my grandmother used to say, when they're young, they walk on your feet. And when they're older and they become adults, they walk on your heart. And I hadn't forgotten that saying ever. But that's one thing that I'm glad that I decided that I changed my mind. That I decided to have children. When I was growing up, I was like, no, I'm not having children. I'm not having children. I'm not going to do it. And then, of course, I married James, and he kind of convinced me to have one child, and then he convinced me to have two. But as you can see, he didn't convince me to have 3. So I kind of put a stop to it there. But I'm so thankful for the 2 gifts that I do have. And I've had a wonderful Mother's Day. And I hope you have had a wonderful Mother's Day. And saying that, neighbor, I just want to let you know that I have been receiving my birthday cards. And that has touched my heart. It's been so overwhelming. I've enjoyed getting them. I haven't opened any of them. I will be announcing when I'll go live on May the 17th to open my cards. I am going to be giving away a few things that have a few giveaways that I'll be giving away during my chat because I want to give things away for my birthday. I don't want to just receive things. But if you want to send me a birthday card, just go to my About page at my channel and send me an email and I'll give you my address. But until then, neighbor, until we come back with another chat, like, subscribe, comment. Don't forget, I love your comments. And you always comment. Ring that bell so you'll know the next time I come to you with the neighborhood chat. We all have to have our neighborhood meeting because how are we going to solve the world's problems if we don't? Until the next time, neighbor. Bye.